Hey, Chef Ro here. Welcome to our next video in the series. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong, but today we're going to talk about biscuits. Making biscuits, it's a whole thing, right? And getting into the making of the dough is a different video. But we're going to talk today about cutting them. Okay, you can use a biscuit cutter. I have a whole set that has a wide range of them because a lot of times I like to make them slightly smaller, especially if I want the same recipe to feed more people, or if I'm going to have a lot of food on the table, like say Thanksgiving. I don't want people to fill up on a biscuit and then I have tons of leftovers for everything else, so I make the biscuits a little bit smaller. Or for me, then I don't feel guilty eating four. I mean, I would never do that, but if you did that, I would understand that. Okay, so I'm going to show you what people do wrong usually when they're cutting out their biscuits, and it's what causes you to do this. Now, biscuit cutter, like I said, is fine. Glass is fine as long as it's not like a mason jar that has like the ridges. I've even used metal measuring cups. Anything that has a sharp edge but it's just a singular edge will work fine. But the trick is how you cut it. I'm going to show you how to do both square and round because some people don't like to have leftover scraps that they have to end up throwing away. So they do squares, no leftovers, but I'm going to show you both ways. Here you can see I have my dough. Now if I wanted to do squares and have zero scraps, I'd use something like a bench scraper and go straight up and down. You can also use a knife as long as you go straight up and down and you don't drag. Dragging is going to seal edges, which we're going to talk about in a second, and that's what causes problems. You would make this into a square first rather than a round, and then you would just go straight up and down, whatever size you want. Or maybe you want to do like pie-shaped wedges. That's fine too, right? You could do a circle and, do some pie-shaped wedges like that. Ah, very cute. Something different. Woohoo! Okay. But if you want to do a traditional round biscuit using a biscuit cutter, let me show you how we do this. Okay. The key here is I always see people pushing down and turn. You don't want to do that. That pinches the edges, and that's why one side is going to rise nicely and the other side gets pinched and sealed and it won't rise. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go straight down and straight up. Okay, and again, straight down, straight up. Now, this is where it gets a little bit on the trickier side because we've got to get these. I want to use up as much scraps as possible. However, number one, you want to handle it as little as possible. The heat of your hands is going to make it warm. The warmer it gets, the less it rises. Okay, so I'm going to try and get it about the same height as the last ones were. Here we go. Looks like I can get only one more out of there because I can only reuse my scraps one time. Now, what I'll do a lot of times is I'll take this and I'll still bake it off. And I call that my chef snack because if no one sees it, no one knows I ate it. Hopefully this video has helped you learn how to properly punch out your biscuits. Remember, straight down, straight up, and no more than one re-rolling of the scraps. They start to get tough and they won't rise as well. You start to overdevelop the gluten, all sorts of things, but you can only reuse the scraps one time. That's why some people will also just, instead of reusing scraps, they'll just take it and they'll punch out all their biscuits and they'll just bake that whole thing off. They'll just punch it straight onto the sheet tray and they'll bake the whole thing off, and they'll eat the little side bits and serve the round pieces to their guests. I'm not opposed to that either. Chef snacks are always a good thing, right? Hopefully this has been helpful because I'm not saying you've been doing it wrong. But